Behind the scenes of 2001, A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick cut 19 minutes from the film's original 158-minute running time after its New York premiere, mostly to speed up the pacing. Stanley Kubrick had several tons of sand imported, washed, and painted for the moon surface scenes. Stanley Kubrick initially approached Arthur C. Clarke by saying that he wanted to make the proverbial good science fiction movie. Clarke suggested that his story, The Sentinel, 1948, about finding an alien artifact on the moon would provide a suitable premise. Clarke had written it for a BBC competition, but it didn't even make the shortlist. The movie's opening scene has elements in common with Clarke's story Encounter at Dawn, and the ending is arguably related to his beloved novel Childhood's End. The screenplay was written primarily by Kubrick and the novel primarily by Clarke, each working simultaneously and also providing feedback to the other. As the story went through many revisions, changes in the novel were taken over into the screenplay and vice versa. The official records say that the screenplay was written in 58 days, October 13, 1965 to December 9, 1965. Shooting began with the monolith on the moon scene on December 29, 1965. It was undecided whether film or novel would be released first. In the end, it was the film. Kubrick was to have been credited as second author of the novel, but in the end was not. It's believed that Kubrick deliberately withheld his approval of the novel as to not hurt the release of the film. Stanley Kubrick previewed 2001: A Space Odyssey for critics, but quickly regretted doing so. Among the mostly indifferent and unfavorable reviews, as noted in the documentary 2001: The Making of a Myth, were somewhere between hypnotic and immensely boring, The New York Times; a monumentally unimaginative movie, Harper's; Space Odyssey fails most gloriously, Newsday; and big, beautiful, but plodding sci-fi epic, superb photography, major asset to confusing, long unfolding plot, Variety. Stanley Kubrick was initially forced by MGM to have Alex North, who had written the score for Kubrick's Spartacus, compose an original score for the 2001. Kubrick, however, always intended to use classical music for the film. He allowed North to score the first half of the film before informing him they planned to only use sound effects for the second half. It wasn't until he was watching the film at its premiere in New York that North discovered that his music had not been. North later reused themes composed for 2001 in the films The Shoes and The Fisherman, Shanks, and Dragon Slayer. North's original score was unheard for 25 years, until composer Jerry Goldsmith re-recorded it for Varis Sarabande in 1993. In 2007, however, Entrada, working with Alex North's estate, released North's personal copies of the 1968 recording sessions on CD. Stanley Kubrick was very well read. It's rumored that the image of the Star Child came to him from the Spirit of the Earth in Percy Bysshe Shelley's Prometheus Underground. Within the orb itself, pillowed upon its alabaster arms, like a child o'erwearied with sweet toil, on its own folding wings and wavy hair, the Spirit of the Earth is laid asleep. Stanley Kubrick worked for several months with effects technicians to come up with a convincing effect for the floating pen in the shuttle sequence. After trying many different techniques without success, Kubrick decided to simply use a pen that was taped to a sheet of glass and suspended in front of the camera. In fact, the shuttle attendant can be seen to pull the pen off the glass when she takes hold of it. Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick disagreed on what Hal's birthday should be. Kubrick wanted Hal to be about the age of a child, so his death would have more emotional impact. Clarke insisted such an old computer would not be used for an important mission. In the book, Hal's age was 4 years, 12th of January 1997, while in the movie it was 9 years, 12th of January 1992. This disagreement resurfaced nearly 30 years later when film critic Roger Ebert held a birthday party for Hal 9000 for screening 2001 in Urbana, Illinois in 1997, the date and place of Hal's birth in the novel. Ebert was also born in Urbana. Clarke and Kubrick were both invited. Clarke accepted his invitation and made an appearance at the festivities via satellite, but Kubrick declined, stating that they missed Hal's birthday in 1992. Another inconsistency in this scene is the name of Hal's first instructor. It's Mr. Langley in the movie, but it's Dr. Chandra in all other books and movies in the series. Since Hal is saying all this while being Frank Miller, who plays the mission control voice, was a member of the US Air Force in real life and a real mission controller. He was hired because his voice was the most authentic the producers could find for the role. Inexperienced and nervous, he could not keep from tapping his foot during recording sessions, and the tapping sound repeatedly came through on the audio tracks. Stanley Kubrick folded up a towel, put it under Miller's feet, and told him to tap to his heart's content. The world is filled with stories going viral every single day. But how many of these sites can you actually follow? We understand that your day should start with positive stories, stories that resonate with you. And so we started JoJo Stories. Our mission is to create meaningful stories that cover everything from animals to anthropology, history to environment and lifestyle. The kind of content you read on our site will be one you'll want to share with your family and friends. We hope you'll join our growing family and be part of our community. Welcome to JoJo Stories. JoJoStories.com.